Okay, we're now live. Hi, everybody. We're live. It's August 27th. It's hard to believe it's the end of August already in Baltimore. Most of the kids already are back in school. Colleges have started. Some places like New York, the kids are going back next week, but everybody is at the end of summer. We had a few days of cool weather, but tomorrow is going to be 95. So the usual comes back around. So hope everyone's doing well. In terms of this talk today, I spent a lot of time this past weekend putting together a new lecture for CTisus, which will be on cystic pancreatic lesions, detection and differentiation and management. I reread many articles and a bunch of new articles recently, including AI articles, but a lot of other articles going through the various, intricacies of the various tumors. And I put together a talk, and it's going to be 5 or 6 parts because I want to show a lot of examples of the classic and then the not so classic cases. So it ends up with about 455 slides. So I'm ready to dictate it. I probably won't do it to this weekend, and you'll probably see it in November, okay? But it should be really good. And cystic pancreatic lesions are really difficult. So the first thing is detection. I talk about using dual phase imaging, thin sections, reconstructions. We talk about the appearance. And so what do you think about with cystic pancreatic lesions? Of course, you can think about a classic CTisus, right? Pancreatitis, the sequela of pancreatitis. Often it's easy, the history, the amylase. You see other changes of pancreatitis. Sometimes it's not so easy because when the patient gets their scan, there's a cystic lesion present that's 3 centimeters or 2 centimeters, and you can't really tell, is it an IPM or is it a CTisus from pancreatitis? If you have a good clinical history, of course, that can be very helpful, but sometimes the clinical history is not there or it's not real clear. So it can be challenging, but most of the time, there's not a problem. Sometimes patients have had acute and chronic pancreatitis, so you see glandular calcifications. Pseudocysts can be large or small, they can be single or multiple. When they're old, they can calcify, and I have one really nice example in the talk I show, but that's pretty simple. Then we talk about cystic pancreatic lesions. The classic one that 15% or 20% of the population, if you look at MR data, can have, particularly as patients get older, are IPMNs. The issue with IPMNs, and I'll discuss that there in the talk, that a lot of people have them. Now the follow-up goes for 9 or 10 years. The people are rethinking because you'll fill up all the scanners with patients, and only 3% of patients with IPMNs ever develop cancer. And so how do you follow? And just following the lesion is not that important alone, in the sense that patients with IPMNs or PANNs, the whole pancreas is at risk. So you're studying the head and the lesion is in the tail. Now these patients are at increased risk, but again, do you follow the patient every year? What do you do? Now if you have a family history, then the numbers go up by 100-fold. So that's things we will screen for and follow. But a routine patient, is probably not going to be anything. But how often do you follow the patient? Even if you say we're going to follow for 9 years, what about year 10? There never is a time of decreased risk. And in fact, the older the patient gets, the more the risk, because just time is against you. Even though the longer you live, time is for you, but it can be challenging. We then talk about serous cystadenomas, and I'll show you a lot of cases. Classic cystic lesions, septations, can be thin septations, can be multiple septations, can have central calcification. Also can be just a pure cystic lesion with a thin wall, oligocystic serous cystadenomas. Cystadenomas can be presenting with some symptoms because of size, but most commonly are incidental findings. They get resected because they're large or they cause symptoms. There's no increased incidence of malignancy. Serous cystadenomas do not become malignant. The issue is, can you definitely define them? There's some work with lab studies looking at fluid where they can be really good, VHL mutation. And so a lot of work is being done in that area. We talk about MCNs, mucinocystic neoplasms. They occur in the body. They occur in 45-year-old females. Serous cystadenomas are patients in their 60s, but these tumors don't always follow the rules. With MCNs, they often have thin septations. typically don't cause pancreatic duct dilatation, but they can. They can have calcifications in the periphery or centrally. MCNs shortly above 4 cm are always resected, and for the most part, all MCNs are resected because they're all considered premalignant lesions. So it's important lesion. We are working on AI for detecting and defining these lesions. We then talk about another benign cystic lesion, lymphoepithelial cyst. Uncommon, but it kind of hangs off the pancreatic gland. There's no dilated duct. It's well defined and measures under 10 Hounsfield units. There's no enhancement. It's kind of lobular and soft. It's a leave alone lesion if you could recognize it. We talk about SPEN tumors, solid papillary epithelial neoplasms. The thing about them, they're usually young females, teenagers or 20s, but they can be in older females. They can be in older males. They can be cystic and solid. They can have calcification. They can be small or they can be large. They are very challenging. You can resect them. There's a 90+% cure rate, but you need to resect them. They rarely metastasize. We talk about neuroendocrine tumors, super hypervascular lesions, but neuroendocrine tumors can also be cystic. We talk about cystic neuroendocrine tumors. Their rim can show enhancement, but centrally they're low density. Okay, most of the neuroendocrine tumors are solid. The entire lesion enhances, though sometimes they're not as vascular as one would like. But one of the things you need to think about, if you see a thick wall with enhancement and a cystic lesion, no, it's not an IPMN. No, it's not going to be an MCN. No, it's not going to be a serous cystadenoma. It's going to be a SPEN tumor. So SPEN tumors are always tricky. We see them more at conference than we see them anywhere else, but it's something that you need to consider as one of the possibilities of a cystic lesion. So you can see there's a large differential of cystic pancreatic lesions. We are using AI now to try to recognize and differentiate the various tumors. A lot of work being done in that regard. It can become very, very important because you're basically looking at what to leave alone and what to take out. And particularly with IPMNs, if you say 97% are benign, it's a lot of following and a lot of resection for benign lesions. So what do you need to do? We need to figure out what parameters, whether it's lab values, whether it's ultrasound, whether it's CT, MR, whatever it is, can you distinguish what's going to be an IPMN, that's a leave alone lesion, versus an IPMN that is of concern. Now remember, I also said, which is concerning to me, is that sometimes patients with IPMNs are at risk for cancer, though not necessarily where the cyst is. So you can be studying, as I mentioned, the head of the pancreas, and the lesion is in the tail. So if you're doing follow-up, make sure you're looking not only at the area you're following specifically, but the entire gland, because new tumors can develop. We talk about IPMNs as being side branch IPMNs. Those are typically benign. If you have a main duct dilated over 8 millimeters, that's a main duct IPMN, high incidence of malignancy. If you have a dilated main duct and you have some side branch lesions, it's a mixed type, but it's still going to be at high risk because of the main duct components. So those are some of the things you need to be thinking about, and I will go through them, I promise, in detail in my talk with references from the literature, a few recent really good articles. I'll show you some of the spin with AI in that regard, particularly as it relates to some of the work we're doing with Microsoft, but also just to show you how you need to approach those lesions. Now, last thing I'll say is, someone said to me, hey, what's that over there? Is that a football? So, hold on. I don't want to drop this. And yes, it's a football in glass. So let me see if I could put it down, take the glass off without dropping it, and then show you the football. So this is when I used to play in college. I got this ball. They passed it to me. I ran left. I ran right. I ran. Okay, that's a great story, but no, this actually was given to me by Ryan Risk, who was our GAP fellow last year. Carlos Elias Lugo was the year before that. Elias just finished his first year at Duke. He's in his second year now. And Ryan's at the first year of University of Miami Medical School. So both of them are in med school and going to be do terrific, and future radiologists or future something in medicine. They will both do great. They work with us really hard, writing articles, doing research, and so we're very proud of them, and we're very grateful for the time being here. And we're expanding out. We had Ryan was quarterback for the Miami college team, and Elias was a wide receiver. They're in the same year, the same team together. And then we're having somebody starting in one more week who actually was a baseball player at Dartmouth. So we're going to see baseball, football. Is there a difference? We'll write an article. Who are better, football players or baseball players? Now, the baseball player coming is going to have a hard time because during their time here, Elias, who was the guinea pig as we were getting started, and he came at the end of COVID, wrote in the 30s number of papers he wrote, which is impressive. And Ryan will break 20. There's a paper today just published that he was on, literally just came out today, and he's on a few more. He's on this article we're submitting with Jensen Wong and Ed Catmull. So both of them were really great. It was an honor for us to be there. So anyway, I never thought we would have GAP students working with us, but it was an incredible experience for us. Hopefully for them, they survive. But they're in medical school, so all's well that ends well. And with that, I wish everybody a great day, and we'll see you soon.